Doing
Good. How are you, Joe?
doing great, doing great. So
Hmm.
yeah, finally on the podcast together. We are Instagram friends, but I believe you're pretty popular on Instagram, so it's awesome. So we'll talk more about that. Um, yeah, it's good to see you. For people who don't know who you are, do you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. Hey everyone, I am Lekhana. I have been in the data space for more than 6 years. Worked at a Fortune 500 company as a BI analyst, and then moved up to senior data governance analyst. Did that for a couple of years, and then started creating content on data analytics 3 years ago, and been enjoying content creation so far. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of consulting projects right now, becoming an entrepreneur. It's a different skill. Definitely enjoying the phase. Recently quit my job, so I am all excited to be on this podcast today.
That's awesome. Congratulations on quitting your job and taking the leap. Um,
Yep.
Maybe we'll start with that. Like, what kind of led up to your decision to go off on your own?
Yeah, so I think it's mostly because growing up, I my dad was an entrepreneur himself, so I'd seen entrepreneurship like growing up, and I always wanted to. I knew that I'll get into entrepreneurship at one point, and when I was working in corporate, one of the things like when I was transitioning from data analytics to data governance. Because I had to set up the entire data governance for the company. And something that I learned was the importance of education because I couldn't find the right tools, right resources for myself when I was trying to upskill. And I figured, why isn't there something like that? Like, why isn't there enough tools and resources, especially when it comes to data governance and things like that for companies? And I was like, okay, let's start educating people on this and let's see where it takes. So that's how I actually started my content creation journey, then which led to entrepreneurship. The leap of faith came in while I was doing content. I started getting a lot of brand deals and things like that. So I was like, maybe I should just put in some time into this and see how it goes. So,
That's super cool. Um, and I think you hit on something that's really interesting with this the lack of content. You're saying
mhm.
in the data governance space.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there is a lack of content out there? Because I think from my end, when I look on say LinkedIn, for example, I have a lot of friends that are in data governance, and some of them produce content. Like George Firakan's one of them, who
Mhm.
does some cool stuff, but it's at least from where I sit, it doesn't seem like there's a shortage of content. But why do you think there is?
So I think because I came from a finance, like mortgage industry, and it's a
Okay.
very highly regulated industry.
Mm,
And so like there are generic content out there around data governance, but very specific to a particular industry that's not available out there. And that's
mm.
something that I felt that needs, to be there, but yeah, there was not much available at that point.
Oh, that's really interesting. And so, what
Yeah.
approach did you take? Because I'm always fascinated by people who find a niche in content and dive into it. Like, what was walk me through it? Like, how did you identify what to build?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, like so, I was trying to figure out how do people, because this was 3 years ago when I just got into data governance. I wanted to try and kind of educate people more on what exactly is even data governance.
Mm,
I think many people are not even aware what is data governance. Still today, people ask me like, what is that role? What do we actually do there? So starting right there with the basics, what exactly is data governance, and then moving up from there and tackling bigger, like for a particular industry, how is data governance applied? So that's something that I mentored and taught people on those topics.
hmm. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, like the big organization I can think of is probably Dama, who's doing a
Yeah,
lot of that
demo.
work.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. But But yeah, that's an interesting one. So, what is it about data governance that you think a lot of people get wrong?
I think so. Actually, honestly, data governance is a lot about people. It's very people heavy. Like you need to network, you need to have good relationships within the company. And many people think that, because of the governance, like I think that term, I think it doesn't do a good job in explaining the role.
Right.
People always like get away, like, okay, just go away. I don't want to, deal with governance, that's the usual, like that's the mindset of people around it. But actually, if you look at it, if you kind of zoom out and see, data governance is so important for any company, making sure that you have all the PII data secured, making sure you have all the, the rules and regulations, you're following all those rules and regulations and stewardship. That's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel like the word governance is a bit misapplied because it makes people think you're like a cop or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like I use when I was working, people, especially the software, the developers and things like that, governance, like, oh, just get away, like just stay away from us.
it's like, do you have a
Yeah,
warrant? So,
yeah, yeah,
that's fun.
yeah.
And then,
Hmm.
you blew up on social media.
Hmm.
What happened there? Because I mean, it's another thing I'm always curious about is like the content creator journey. So,
Yeah.
how'd you get started on it?
Yeah, so it was actually this was back in 2022. Yeah, end of 2022. One of my friend reached out to me and she's like, "I want to get into data. Like, just can you guide me?" And that's literally how my content creation journey started. I was like, "Okay, hold on, let me just quickly create." It was my personal channel. I started just creating, like, how do you get into data analytics? That's how I started. And I started with that post, and then I started interviewing a lot of people in the data space at that point. Almost about 20 data professionals who were on Instagram.
Wow,
Started interviewing them, and that's how I started my content creation journey.
that's super
Yeah.
cool. And did you plan on being a content creator, or did it just sort of happen by accident?
I think I never planned it. It just happened by accident. But I think it was like an intuition, right? Like you know that you have to do this. Like you feel that it's right. So I just followed that.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many videos do you think you've done at this point?
I think on Instagram, I'm close to, I guess, around 800 now. Um,
Jeez, that's crazy.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
flipping through
literally.
your feed right now, and it just keeps going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
on Instagram
interesting.
it's about 800, and then I started YouTube, and that's when I hit a burnout last year
Oh
because I
wow,
had, yeah.
what happened?
So last year I had a full-time job and I was doing content creation on the side. I had like three different channels: LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So, and literally I had no evenings, no weekends, and it was all gone into creating content. And
Mm,
because I was growing so quickly, I started receiving a lot of brand deals and, managing all of that. Although I did hire people, the it comes to, a point where you're like, I just need a break. So I hit burnout, and I took off from social media for almost 2 months.
wow.
Yeah. I stopped posting. I focused more on myself, self growth, and just, trying to get things together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Walk me through that. I'm interested in that burnout thing. Like, what was there? Just like was it a slow build towards your burnout, or was there like a specific day or time where you're just like, I can't do this anymore, and you just sort of walked away? What was that like?
Yeah, so it was so actually, like, with my content creation journey itself, I started off my meditation journey. I started
Mm,
meditating a lot, and then there was like after a point of meditation, you try to kind of, I think for me personally, it was like I wanted to dive more deeper into myself and really find out my purpose in life. And rather than just, going on just getting the task done for the day. So I wanted to take that mindful pause and break. And also I was like super tired with all the content, with all the full-time job and things like that. So I was like, I think it's a point right now I should take a break, and just took that break 2 months and just kind of figured out what I really want to do in my life.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a lot of self-awareness and
Hmm.
bravery to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go through periods like that too with content, and I think just everything in general, where I'm sort of just want to do a table flip and start over some days. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do take a break once in a while. But yeah, I totally get it. Because
Hmm.
the content creation thing's interesting. I know a lot of people who are content creators, and it feels like um, some of them are just able to just to chug along and keep going. I think others definitely struggle
Right.
a bit because there's a lot of expectations put on you.
Hmm.
Because it's you're dealing with the public audience, and so it's. But I think that's pretty pervasive. Like, I was reading some articles just about mental health and content creators and influencers on Instagram and TikTok, and it feels like burnout's a real thing.
Hmm.
Like you can't stop. You always have to be doing the next thing, and it's
Yep.
exhausting.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the reason why it's like I just have to take a step back and figure out and not make it I don't want to run with the algorithm. I want
Yeah.
it to work for me. So that's something that I kind of imbibe that even with my content now, today. I'm trying to be more mindful of what I do versus not just just become that person who like, okay, next task, next task. I don't want to do that.
Mm. Did you feel like you were making content for the algorithm instead of for yourself?
Yes, at a point, yes. I felt I caught myself doing that. I caught myself in that hamster wheel of like trending, everything trending. I would have to get on top of trends. Otherwise I'm not going to grow, and things like that. But yeah, after like a lot of, like self awareness and growing myself and trying to really understand myself, I think I kind of have the awareness now to not do that and
Mm.
instead provide value versus just, not going on just trends and things like that.
Yeah, I can see the trend thing just being like a nonstop treadmill.
Yeah.
Just because it is, especially in tech and data, it's like things are moving so fast.
Hmm.
It's interesting because they move so fast, but everything sort of stays the same as well. So
Right.
it's an interesting
Yeah.
paradox where, as you point out, things like data governance, for example, right? I'm sure there's new tools that come out all the time in there, but it's like,
Hmm.
as you point out, the central thing is you're dealing with humans, and that hasn't gone away in
Right.
the decades I've been in this game. It's always been the case. And so,
Hmm.
but if you're trying to stay on top of all the new announcements, I mean, that's
Yeah.
tiring, and especially with like generative AI and all the
Oh yeah.
papers that come out. Like, I don't even know how many papers come out a day on that now, but it's nuts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's interesting. But the
Mhm.
mindfulness things, I think that's an interesting take. I mean, was that something you'd always practiced, or did you discover this whole practice while you were in your burnout phase?
I think I was always doing like yoga and stuff growing up. But mindfulness was something that, growing up, like I never heard or seen anyone practice it. So it was completely new for me. But once I kind of discovered it, it was some sort of a thing that I just wanted to know more about it. So I tried everything, did all sorts of, like Headspace. I've tried all the apps that are available out there, and finally discovered that what I like, and I just stick to it and did it. But yeah, I'd not heard of it.
Oh, interesting. What are some of the key aspects of mindfulness? If you're to teach mindfulness to
Mhm.
the audience, like what are some of the things that they need to know about it?
So I think the most important thing is just, even if it's just like 2 minutes in a day, right? Like just close your eyes and just be there with your thoughts. Even if it's just your thoughts, just being aware of your thoughts is an amazing milestone that you have actually crossed in mindfulness. So once you start doing that, the more you practice, like the daily, if you practice like just 5 minutes a day, the more you practice, you'll find out that there'll be a point where your thoughts will start to kind of go away, and it'll just be you and your mind, and that's it. And that's something that it takes a lot of effort. It's not like I do it today and I want to see the result tomorrow. Like that's not how it works. It's a lot of continuous effort. For sometimes it takes years to even reach the stage of where you don't have any thoughts. So
Right.
yeah, that would be my take on how you practice it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me like back when I was a teenager, I was really into Zen, Buddhism and stuff, and I felt like that
Hmm.
was. But it was interesting because I think that the notion was really like you could never attain it because it's one of those if you think you've
Yeah.
attained it, but the quiet mind is an interesting one. Like my mind is like total chaos right now,
Hmm.
but it's in the middle of just a bunch of stuff, so there's a lot of
Hmm.
things in my mind. But yeah, that is especially in the tech space. I find that's an interesting notion of mindfulness. Because it's one, we're talking about things move really fast, but I think two, there's a lot of job expectations on you
Right.
in tech, and so uh, it's I think it's hard to be mindful in this industry. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I'd love your take.
Yeah.
Do you think it is?
I think it is, especially like I was just talking to someone recently, and they were also telling me the same thing. Like, especially in tech, it's so hard to be mindful. But I think with AI, there's so much like possibility of you to kind of remind yourself to be mindful. Like you can just like quickly, have this Siri like remind you about, hey, just take a 5 minute deep breath, right? Like even if you have like an Apple Watch, it will remind you of like it'll remind you to breathe. So it's just taking those small steps. It's not like just going in there and sitting there and, meditating for hours together. It's about like just, like just like how you take a break every hour, 5 minutes break for just taking a deep breath and kind of slowing your mind down.
Mm,
So I think that's something that it's possible. It's just a matter of taking that step, taking an action towards that step.
yeah. What did you think? You mentioned the apps before. I've checked
Hmm.
out Headspace before and other apps. Like, what are your thoughts on those? Did they work for you, or were there certain things that worked and others didn't? Like, what was
Yeah.
your experience like?
I think like as a beginner, yes, it's those are great apps. You like if you're just starting off, it's great to start off with those apps. It's always nice to have some guidance. But as you progress and like as you start doing it daily on a day-to-day basis, you'll hit a point where those apps are not really helping you much. And then that's when you start to figure out different other types of meditation techniques and play around with it, because everyone's different, right? So everyone can needs to find what kind of sticks to them. So I think but these apps are great to get started for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. And something we were talking about before we hit
Hmm.
the record button was building mindful technology.
Yeah.
Um, what does that mean to you?
I think so. Like right now, especially in the age of AI, there are, with all the deep fakes that's going on, and there are long things that can go wrong with this technology. Like if there's one person who is building this technology for a wrong thing, um, I mean, it's going to be a detrimental effect, right? So I think that's where the mindful building technology in a mindful lens is important. Uh, every person using technology or building technology needs to be mindful of what they're doing, and how, and always think about how you can benefit the humanity versus, not, it can also go wrong. So you need to make sure that you're benefiting the humanity and doing good for the humanity versus, doing bad things. Yeah.
Yeah, but the bad things seem to be the norm, though, that people sort of gravitate towards. I'm not sure what that
Hmm.
is in tech, but it seems like that's sort of the default. If you look at social media, right, it's designed to
Right.
um, provide you dopamine hits and keep you
Yeah.
addicted to it. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, so how does that work then? Uh, in terms of, I guess, counterbalancing that.
I think so. The way I look at it is like it's more like you should be aware of these things, but also you need to take a step back and look at it how it's going to help you 10x your stuff too, right? So kind of reflecting and seeing how this technology can benefit you versus not put you down, like personally
Mm,
also how it will grow you. So if you look at it that lens, I think that's something that everyone I feel should be doing, and seeing how they can personally, professionally grow themselves with this technology.
yeah, that is interesting. I was talking to somebody. They were, I think, a therapist actually, and we talked
Hmm.
about AI as a therapist, and so that was an interesting
Hmm.
conversation. I feel like there's definitely uh, some interesting potential with a lot of these technologies.
Hmm.
We're talking about LLMs or something like that. Um, but do you think I don't know. Where do you think like the human connection and I guess human interaction interplays alongside mindful technology?
I think but it might, so going forward, I guess it might kind of change a little bit because yeah, you must have seen the Facebook's avatars, and that's going to come up with llama and stuff. That I feel it's going, like how I look at it is humans are multidimensional, right? Like you have different interests, different things that you want to do. So I think going forward, like how they were saying, like your AI is going to talk to my AI and get things done and things like that. So I think definitely, if your AI is doing all of that, I believe that there's going to be a lot more people who would want to see each other, like in person, and that kind of sort of community where you're in person would be more in terms of like people would start to crave that kind of social engagements. I think
Yeah,
that's how I see it going.
yeah, I think I do agree with the need for more in-person stuff. The AI thing's really interesting. I think the AI, kind of the personal AI and the agents.
Hmm.
Because my question is like, who's asking for this?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
think it's like I don't know anyone who wants that, but it seems like that's a direction that like a lot of tech companies are kind of forcing us into, which
Hmm.
is it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it's sort of I think it's like with LLMs in general, it's like every product is now it seems like every product has like the sparkly little AI thing
Hmm.
on it. And like the biggest question I have is like, who's even asking for this in the first place? Because every
Mm.
time I see it now, I'm like, I don't know, do I try and use this? And um, I think there's been some cool products I've seen, but for the most part, it feels like uh, it's a nice to have, and maybe not even a nice to have. It's just there. But I don't know. I almost developed like AI blindness to some extent, where
Mm.
if it's something you need to click on to use it, I'm like, I don't really want to use that.
Mm.
But the agents would be an interesting one for sure. I kind of wonder, the ramifications of it in terms of like spam bots and stuff. Like on Instagram already, right? I mean, I'm sure you get friended by some sort of a bot on a daily basis. I know I do. Even my
Hmm.
kid, he's like, he's about 14 on Instagram, but he said that some scantily clad lady with a really weird looking name with a lot of numbers, added him as a
Mm-hmm.
started following him. It's like, yeah, that's a bot. That's not even a person.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, what the ramifications are with agents, and sort of in spam, I guess, because
Mm.
it's probably going to run pretty rampant. But I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
it's an interesting
Yeah,
one.
definitely they need to come up with some solutions for that.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people trying to get off of social media now, right? I think you
Oh
see a
yeah.
mindfulness comment too, would just get,
Yeah.
it's like go hang out in person,
Right.
or a lot of it's being replaced by like WhatsApp groups or just text groups that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah. Yeah, actually, if you look at it, like the Gen Zs and all of that, like the younger generation, they're trying to. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think there's like I was recently talking to a Gen Z, and he was telling me that he doesn't want to drive a car anymore. Like he's like, I'm gonna
mm,
get a Tesla and I'm just gonna put it on autopilot. I'm just gonna sit there. I don't want to drive. I was like, who? And then I was talking to, so this happened right after I was speaking to a CEO of a company called Mozy. They're building like an autonomous trucks, basically for transport. And he was also telling that. He was also saying the same thing. Gen Zs apparently don't want to drive. So if you think about that, what is going to happen to social media then? Like, how is the Gen Z going to try using social media today? That's something that I don't know how it's going to happen in the future.
that's really interesting because if you wanted to go visit people, you might need to drive somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess in this case, they just see it as taking a ride.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember, what was it? End of June, I was in San Francisco and took a Waymo. I actually took a few of them, right? So
Mm.
it's a driverless cab there. I thought that was pretty cool. Like you don't have to have the weird, awkward interactions with your Uber driver anymore. You just hop in a car
Mm.
and get going, and it drives really well. I kind of joke it drives like a 90-year-old grandpa. Like it goes pretty slow.
Mm.
It follows all the traffic laws almost too well. But it got you to where you need to go. Then you don't have to
Right.
tip it either, so that's kind of cool. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. I never heard that about Gen Z and not wanting to drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer at this point, so it's a
Mm.
bit old, but I think the generation before me were boomers. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but that's really interesting. What do you think happens though in that scenario where people um, don't drive and
I guess it's gonna. I mean, I think looking at it, it feels very sci-fi, but I guess that's the direction we're going in. If you look at all the agents and the avatars and all that's happening, sometimes I feel like that we're really living in a sci-fi world,
mm,
and especially if we have more like cars like Tesla and things like that driving by themselves, I guess we're getting close to a sci-fi world.
yeah, I think it's happening. I mean, I
Hmm.
grew up reading a lot of cyberpunk and science fiction books and stuff, and
Mm.
it feels like a lot of that, um,
Yeah.
a lot of those predictions, or a lot of them are happening right now. It's interesting. I mean, I remember when like computer hackers were still sort of a new thing. Now that's
Hmm.
something that just happens every day, and like whatever.
Yeah.
You pay some ransom to somebody in like Romania or someplace like that. So
Hmm.
that's super normal. Yeah, yeah, it is fascinating. Uh, it does feel like science fiction, um,
Yep.
which is interesting because I think we're kind of at an interesting inflection point where things can either go really well and benefit people, or it can go
Right.
very dystopian. And um, I don't know. It feels like things are dystopian, but I wish they would go well. But maybe that's me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm more like all about building mindful technology,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I really want to spread that word. And make as many people aware as possible, because it's very important for us to build this technology mindfully. And because it, like you said, it can get dystopian. So yeah, so I think that's something that I'm really working towards, helping people being aware of things that, can
Yeah.
also go wrong. Yeah.
Is that the nature of your new venture that you started?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Walk me through that. Like, what exactly are you working on?
So currently I'm working on helping people to be more mindful, especially as a tech person myself. Something like, just like how I was telling you right now, like in your busy day, just take some time and just kind of pause for a few minutes. And so I have a course that's coming next month,
Oh, nice.
where I'm going to be helping people to actually learn the technical skills, but most importantly, also be mindful about what you're doing. So creating that awareness, and helping people to take that break and just think about what you're doing and see how it helps people and humanity. That's something that I really want to give away to people in the course too. So
That's really cool. So is it going to be like an education company or
yeah, it's an education
okay,
company. Yeah.
that's super cool. From where I sit, from what it sounded like you're trying to basically bring a lot of humanity back
Yeah.
um, to tech, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
How do you think that we lost our humanity along the way?
I think I think it's mostly after like the AI and everything, AI. Like I think the hype started around 2020. So that's when like the Chat GPT 2021. That's when it all started, right? Chat GPT
I think
and
it's
all these
2022 with
tools.
ChatGPT. Yeah,
2022. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, sometime from around 2022. So that's when ChatGPT started. And I think it's all the media, like how much media has hyped up AI, that to a point that I guess people are like, okay, everything AI can do. What about, like, what's the need of me, right? Like, what's the need
Mm,
of a human in it? But come on, hey, humans built this, right? Like, you still have that superpower if you just kind of pause and take a break and think about things, right? Like, and not just blindly use this technology. uh, I truly believe that every human has something to, like, they can get their own edge towards anything, like the human side of things. And I think you just need to tap into it, and you just need to bring that human part of it, and not, just AI everywhere. So,
yeah, that's an interesting observation because there definitely is an echo chamber with
mhm.
I think um, tech workers, tech executives in the media, where it seems like we're rushing in like kind of headfirst into this future where I'm not sure we've really thought through the consequences of this
Yep.
very clearly. Because the discussions I hear, I go speak at conferences, and some of the discussions I'll listen to, it's just like, yeah, let's just wholesale replace everybody in the company with AI. Like
Hmm.
that's interesting. That's certainly an approach. But the first question I have is like, um, well, there's a lot of questions I have about it actually, but because it seems like we're driving towards I wrote about this. I did a podcast on this the other day, but it's like we're driving towards a productivity number. Like, we want to increase productivity,
Yeah.
but doing more things doesn't necessarily mean you're doing things of higher quality.
Hmm.
And so I think along the way you're losing that notion of quality, which in my opinion should be one of the foremost considerations. You can move faster
Right.
actually if you have high quality. If you have low quality, I think there's a lot of trade-offs and debt you're going to incur. But it just seems like there's this mad rush to basically let's throw AI at everything. Let's automate as much as
Hmm.
we can. And then obviously the big question in the room is, okay, great, you get rid of everybody. What happens to them? what
Yeah.
do they do? Like, do they just suddenly find other things to do? I think it was Mira Murati from OpenAI.
Hmm.
She was talking about how, basically people who lose out to AI, those jobs probably shouldn't have existed in the first place. I thought it was a very tone deaf thing to say, because it's like OpenAI is out there basically just, sucking in everybody's content,
Yeah.
regurgitating it through an LLM, but then gaslighting people and telling them, well, it's your own fault for doing that, right? Like, this is all public domain, but but obviously what you're doing wasn't important in the first place. So go find something else to do. So like everything you and
Yeah.
I build, like I said, according to her, is basically that job shouldn't have existed in the first place. So it's an interesting time, because I feel like this is what a lot of companies are trying to push for. But again, the question is like, who the hell is asking for this in the first place?
Right. Yeah. 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 I think it's also about. I mean, I definitely feel that there is a positive side for these tools,
Yeah.
because if you think about it, like, just like writing, any piece of content, right? I can just kind of sit there and write like a bunch of pages, and then go back, review, which takes me like, let's say, a week, right? The same amount of content, I can now use Claude or ChatGPT. I can just sit, type, and then ask it to rewrite it, right? So it probably would take me like an hour or so. So I think there's a lot of good things. It kind of saves up that 1 week of time that I put into this, right? So what well now I have so much time in my hand, where I feel that like people should kind of understand that now you have more time in your hand. So what would you do with that time? And how would you grow yourself? Like how do you be the best, like, efficient person, right? So I think there's a lot of positive things to this technology as well. I know it's not it's I mean, if you look at it in that light, I think
Hmm.
there's good and bad to it, but I feel it's more it's going to make us more productive with things, and definitely it's going to give us a lot of time, and what are you going to do with that time is all that matters, right? So and how are you going to efficiently use that time that you have in your hand.
Well, you mentioned that you've seen some productivity gains in your own life through AI. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
do you do with the extra time?
So I mean, I've been using it a lot for my personal growth,
Yeah.
and I've been using it for like today, like because I've been using a lot of AI for my productivity. I have more time to meditate. Like I love meditation, so I meditate for an hour daily. So
Wow.
I do that. So I've been meditating for an hour daily, which I don't think it would have been possible if I had no AI do my, like, help me with my content and stuff. So definitely that's a gain for me, and I think going forward, I think it's going to help you. Kind of like I was saying, we're all multidimensional. So you're going to start doing different things, right? Let's say you love playing the keyboard or love playing the piano, whatever. So you can just start using time for that, right? Do your like pursue your passion basically when you have that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I do see a lot of the benefit with that for sure. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I use LLMs all the time, but it's mainly as a conversational agent to, I think, talk with something that is, we read like millions of books. I don't know a
Mm-hmm.
human that's done that before. So
Mm-hmm.
um, so it is interesting. Yeah, and then from the editor, I use it a lot to help sort of edit the writings I do. I don't use it for writing. I think that's for a lot of reasons to get into. I think that's probably a bad use of time. But it depends
Mm-hmm.
what you're trying to do. I think if you're writing
Right.
like say policies for your company, it could probably give you a nice start for that. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously go back through and read it. But like if you're writing, say, books, like the books that I write, I don't think that you could use an LLM for that. That I don't know, just I don't think it would work that well. But but it does save time for sure. I think if you
Mm-hmm.
learn how to use it right. But I guess the knowing how to use it right is an interesting question. Because sometimes like coding and copilots and stuff, you end up actually, some engineer friends I know, they end up doing more work sometimes because they have to go back there and
Yeah.
review it. But what are some things that you found to really leverage AI maybe the right way for your workflows?
I think for me, mostly like my content wise, I usually tend to not like, especially for writing, like LinkedIn and stuff like that, I don't use AI. Although I just use it kind of to like brainstorm things
Mm,
for ideas and stuff. I do use it for that. But for writing, I believe writing is like is a thing that I really want to do it. I just kind of let it flow. I don't use in any AI tools. But when it comes to like Instagram and my YouTube content, I use like tools like vidIQ. They're all like, basically YouTube like SEO platform, which again, they are
interesting.
using AI for that. So I use those tools for my YouTube videos, basically to get better suggestions on what kind of content I should make, like keyword searches. Everything's made simple and easy on that tool. So that's how I'm using AI. And when it comes to Instagram, I use tools like Buffer to kind of schedule things out
Mm,
and stuff. And again, it's again I use it mainly for brainstorming content, even for my
got it.
Instagram. Yeah.
Have you found anything good for video editing? So it's like,
Video editing, I think Descript is so if you're talking about long form, I think Descript is the one that I've used, and I really like it. It's like it just transcribes your video, and you can just look at the sentences and just cut out. You don't have to even look at the video and edit it manually. So it makes your life very easy there.
oh, that's
But
dope.
yeah, for Instagram, I think there's this tool called Captions. I don't know if you've heard it.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, Captions is amazing. They've been doing some really good stuff with AI. Like it gives you transcriptions, it gives you the everything. Like you sometimes I think it even generates images too for you for your video. So for
That's
short
cool.
form captions, yeah,
Interesting. I'll go check those out. Yeah, Descript looks
yep,
pretty dope. Yeah, I think it's like
hmm
the one thing where I think like those are the kinds of workloads I would love to have
yeah,
just something edit because like I don't know about you, but I've edited a ton of video and it sucks.
yeah.
It's a lot of work. So
Oh
did you
yeah.
hire somebody to do your video editing or do you do that yourself?
So initially I did it by myself, and then I started to hire people to help me out. Yeah,
That's a good idea. Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's a whole job in itself. You know, talk about
Oh
like a
yeah,
massive time suck. Like that's one
yeah.
of them. So,
hmm
and there's some people that like it though. It's weird, but
Yeah. 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 I mean, I sometimes it's like I usually kind of tend to like keep it very open. Sometimes if I'm in the zone, I like being creative and being analytical. So it depends on how I want to do it. Sometimes I just open CapCut and I just edit things on my own. And sometimes those videos I would have, which doesn't have good edits, would have done so well. And I'm like, how does this work? So trying to experiment with that, it's interesting.
that's interesting. Do you have a favorite Instagram video that you've made?
I think the most favorite of mine, I think this was like a year ago. It was basically a cooking video. I'm not cooking anything. It's just like pans and things like that. And I'm teaching people what ingredients are required for becoming a data analyst. So I think that kind of hit like 2 million or something like that. So
Whoa,
yeah,
that's crazy. I'm trying to find it. Is it
yeah.
pinned on your Instagram?
No, I don't think so. It
Okay.
was long ago. I think it was last year.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go through 800 videos during a podcast, but that's crazy. How did you
Yeah,
build
that
such a big
was
following?
I think I would say I think I just got lucky I think 2 years ago when I started, 2, 3 years ago when I started. I started posting consistently, and so at that point the algorithm was very different, right? And what I did was I used to do like these live sessions every week, like literally like half an hour live sessions every week where I used to advise people on how to get into data and things like that. I think that's something that helped the algorithm boost my profile, I guess. So I think
Interesting.
that's how, like within 8 months, I was able to kind of get almost 50, 60,000 followers.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Good job. So,
Yeah.
what was
Yeah.
that
It was a
like?
lot of work.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a lot of followers to get in a short amount of time, though. Like, what was it
Yeah.
like when you started seeing your follower count sort of skyrocket?
I was pretty surprised, and I'm like, okay, this thing is I think it was all about I would credit it to the live sessions that I had. It was really impactful because a lot of people got really good value out of it. And that time, Instagram was favoring the live sessions as well. So
Mm,
I think that's something that worked for me. So, and it was like every morning I used to wake up and I see like, there are like so many, I think at a point there were like 500 people following me. Like, you get that notifications. And I was like, wow, I just wake up in the morning in 8 hours and it's like 500 followers. I was like, whoa, this is, yeah,
that's nuts. I have to try that out. I'm probably gonna do Instagram. I'm probably gonna set up a different account. The one I have right now is just like really dumb pictures of me and my
mm,
kids and stuff, and I kind of want to keep that part separate from business. But
mm-hmm,
that's really interesting. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by how people build their audiences. I got a friend, Zach Wilson, who's
mm-hmm,
obviously built up a huge following too. But I think he got famous for like I think his most famous post was on LinkedIn where he posted his salaries and all of his jobs, and all
mm,
of a sudden he got like millions of views on that post and hundreds of
mm,
thousands of followers, and it was just kind of nuts. But
yeah,
you just never know. It's like I think it's all different, for everybody.
right,
So
yeah, mm-hmm,
like, one of my other friends, Annie Nelson, she goes by Annie the Analyst on TikTok, which she got popular, I think, by posting a video of her getting laid off. Um,
mm,
so just never know.
yeah,
But for you, it was the live
yeah,
sessions. That's pretty cool.
mm-hmm, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's whatever the algorithm gods like, right? So,
But it's so
yeah,
fickle because you don't know like what the algorithm's favoring at the moment. So it's almost there's
right.
definitely an element of luck, like you say, where it's um because I think if you tried to yeah, I don't even know if like doing live would have any if the algorithm would favor that
Right.
today. No idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah, I think
interesting.
it's all about experimentation, I guess. It's you just keep experimenting and see what works. And yeah.
Yeah. And take breaks too, like you said, like you did
Mm-hmm.
for a couple months
Yep.
too. I think it's really healthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Definitely take breaks. Yeah.
that's interesting. Well, kind of closing out, like what are you excited about over the next let's say 2 years?
Yeah, I'm excited because like I was telling you, my journey from like burnout and things like that, try really identifying my purpose and passion. Like I'm really looking forward to all the new developments that's going to come along with AI. And I also want to be very kind of mindful about, how I also use this technology and how I can, help AI, boost up my productivity. So
Hmm.
I'm very excited to see the future, and I hope everyone's using this mindfully too. And that's something that I'm really trying to bring on, like help me create more awareness
Hmm.
in this space as well.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great opportunity and a great time to be doing it. So yeah, thanks for
Hmm.
taking the charge on that. So
Hmm.
it's sorely needed in the world.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's awesome. For
Yeah.
people who want to learn more about you, how can they find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Instagram at storytelling by data. and or you can find me on LinkedIn by Lekhana Reddy.
Awesome. And you got a podcast?
Yes, I also have a podcast. It's called Mindful of Podcast. So you can check that out on YouTube.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time, Lekhana. It's good chatting with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Nice talking to you, Joe.
yeah, take care.